You are now tuned in to the Lineman Lounge, the world's thickest sports podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Evo.
Come on, bitches. This is the Lineman Lounge. There's a fucking blizzard going on outside, and we're going to bet today. But before we get that started, Evo, my man over here, take it away so I can come inside. It's fucking cold out here. Weather going to be a factor in today's games. Evo, take it away, brother.
All righty. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to week 13 of the NFL. This is the Lineman Lounge. Thank you for tuning in to our show. Obviously, Mike is going to transit from that little lake effect snow tundra back down to the production studio out in Ohio. But I'm Evo. Welcome to the Lineman Lounge. Hope you guys are excited for week 13 football. A little bit of a recap of our Thursday Thanksgiving games, just a miniature recap, and of course the Black Friday. And then we have a little bit of business to talk about with some Ohio State, Michigan football, which I'm sure Mike is going to be super stoked to talk about. But with that, I think it's time to add Mike back in the production studio out in Ohio. Yeah. How's it going, Mike? You
it's warmer down here than it is outside right now, bro. It is.
Brush off that cap there.
Oh man, it is cold. It has snowed so much. Lake effect snow is absolutely no joke. It snowed probably a good almost 2 feet now at this point over the last few days. Graydon's been out shoveling sidewalks. Made a couple $100 for himself over the last couple days.
Wow, that's really good.
Hey, you know what? Good for the young man. He is out there entrepreneuring, making some cash. I'm not paying for this goddamn V-Bucks anymore. He's gonna have to start paying for the own people.
I was gonna say, like, how much did you ever shovel driveways or anything to make some money when you were younger?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I also did the shovel or mow lawn thing.
Now we're a bit older. Inflation and everything, you know, the cost of groceries has gone up. But how much were you getting paid to do a driveway back in the day? For $100, for me, I'm doing like 15. Like, I was getting offered like a $5 to go shovel a driveway or something like that.
Yeah, so I was getting $10 probably a driveway, and that's what Graydon got last year was $10 a driveway, or that's what he put on his flyer. Now he got more than that. This year, due to inflation, prices went up. They went up to $20 a shovel. So he made some pretty good money. A couple people paid him a little over the 20 because some of those jobs were incredibly difficult. But he's been out there crushing it, man. Just got to check on him every once in a while. Obviously, I don't want him to die out there in the snow. You guys saw it is no joke out there. But he's got a bunch of gear. He's decked out, and everybody in the neighborhood knows that this young man's out there working to get some spending money. So I'm very proud of him, man. It makes me happy when he does this. It really does.
Hustling. That's good. That's good, man. Well, look, let's jump into the show because we've got, just under 2 hours till games start here, and we got a decent amount to go over. This weekend we had our Thursday Thanksgiving football games and our Black Friday game. But before we get into the NFL, there was a really big matchup, a rivalry game in college football that I'm sure is near and dear to your heart that you want to talk about. Do you think Ryan Day is going to continue being the coach of this Ohio State football team after dropping yet another game to the Michigan Wolverines?
Do I think he will? Yes. Do I think he should? No, probably not. And here's the thing: you lose to Michigan, that's bad. You lose to Michigan 4 years in a row. You give the seniors this year no remembrance of beating Michigan. That's bad. But then after you lose this game, you allow your team to stay out on the field and throw a fucking pity party because the team that beat you is celebrating. That speaks to a lack of discipline, a lack of leadership. Now, I understand that this is a very intense rivalry. It is the most intense rivalry in all of sports, if not, I think in all of sports, for sure, college football. Planting the flag in that scenario, maybe not the brightest idea. But listen, you won. You have the right to celebrate. You got to win and lose graciously. And neither fucking team did that. So the team that's supposed to be better, the team that there are higher expectations of, there's a problem there. I don't expect anything less from Michigan coming in there as a fucking barely bowl eligible team and getting a win and celebrating. That's what they should do after Ohio State fans have trashed them for the last year about how they cheated for a national championship. Of course they're going to fucking celebrate. Of course they're going to celebrate. Be grown up and deal with your failures. You lost. You don't need the extra shit. It looks badly on the entire program and speaks to a lack of leadership, in my opinion, of Ryan Day.
It's an interesting dichotomy between professional football and college football, at least to me, where there's rivalry games in every sport, in every level of sport. But it seems like college football is the one sport where losing rivalry games is a linchpin or a litmus mark to you keeping your job or not as a coach. You don't see rivalry. Like if the Vikings lost to the Packers twice this year, which obviously we won our first game, but like if we lost them twice this year, our biggest rival, I don't think that even brings into scope whatsoever the firing of a Kevin O'Connell or something like that. You have to, and for any other team for that matter, you don't see that sort of rivalry cause coach firings for, other teams. I mean, it can be the tipping point for a overall bad season, but it's not typically going to get a coach fired. Whereas in college football, you could be having obviously a very good season like the Buckeyes are. And this could be at the end of the year that, final thing that gets the coach's pink slip. It's interesting to me how the rivalries really play such a big factor when it comes to college football.
Yeah, that's what college football was kind of built off of. That's one of the things that people who are opposed to these super conferences think that we're taking away are these intense rivalries that have built through, over the last century. Red River shootouts, obviously that stays because they both went to SEC. But as the Pac-12 breaks up and more teams are added to the Big Ten, can we keep all of these rivalry games that we have grown accustomed to and that we love? Like Bedlam is a game that there was I think it was like 3 years ago they didn't do Bedlam, which is crazy. So
my Gophers won Paul Bunyan's axe over Wisconsin again. Great rivalry there between the Gophers and the Badgers. It's I'll say this. I think that those rivalries, because of how fun they are and how they have those individual trophies and things like that, those will always remain in college football. And I think that the fans will continue to promote those, and those will be big deals. I think the coach effect of firings and things like that is actually going to start to diminish, not necessarily because of NIL and how the restructuring of these conferences are, but because of the college football playoff. Previously, this college football playoff was not a thing. You had 4 teams go in. It was such a small bracket that the playoffs mattered less, I think, to the college football teams because it was all about bowl games and getting into bowl games and things like that. Now with an actual playoff, that's when you see, I always think back to Marty Schottenheimer with the Chargers. He would constantly put up 10-win seasons with that Chargers team and ended up getting fired because they just weren't successful in the playoffs. They didn't make it to the big game. And so despite success, he got fired. You see that still with coaches now. The most recent conversation, I think, is kind of with the Chicago Bears, how they just had a coaching change. The last time that they had a good winning coach there was Lovie Smith, and they fired him on a 10-win season. You see that when you don't have
Caldwell with the Lions.
Yeah, you see that though with these professional football teams where the coach will have a good year, good record, be putting together good teams, but they're not getting the total package. They're not getting those playoff wins. So I think that is going to start to kind of leak into college football a little bit. We'll see more of the postseason success mattering for coach firings and whatnot. Of course, there's so many more teams in college football. And year in and year out not having good seasons, that's going to cause the coaching carousel to probably spin a lot faster. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how that ends up shaping up and taking place in college football, if it starts to mimic a little bit more of the NFL and how postseason success matters to those head coaching jobs, especially at least with the big schools, the ones that you expect every year to be competing for national championships.
And the expansion is going to make that interesting on where they gauge it, because you can win a conference championship and go in and get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs and still probably lose your job at this point if you're one of those big programs. Like Ryan Day not beating Michigan, he can make all of this go away. If we get one of those last spots in the playoffs and he goes on and he wins a national championship, we'll be like, okay, wow, great run, way to pull it together, Ryan Day. He'll keep his job. But if he goes in and or for some reason the committee keeps us out of the playoffs because of this loss to a lowly Michigan team, or they go in and they get knocked out in the first round, Ryan Day is fucking gone, bro. Like, without a doubt. Because it will matter how you place in that playoffs. He's worked his way out of a fucking first round bye. No conference championship. So you can't have a first round exit. Absolutely can't happen.
Yeah,
I still don't know if it's going to matter, because I agree with that comment that we had from Ryan. I'm all in on Braves, man. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Eric.
Yeah, look, I think that would be a really cool link up, have Vrabel go there to Ohio State. I don't know if Vrabel will drop down a level. If the money's right, sure. And if the head coaching opportunities this year don't tickle his fancy to move on to, because I think he's going to take a head coaching job somewhere, whether it's college or NFL. But if the available jobs in the NFL don't tickle his fancy, then I'm sure Ohio State could probably throw a lot of money at him to make him be the head coach there. And that would be cool to see, but it's not going to limit him from in a couple of years coming back to the NFL and being a head coach. I think that he probably wants to stay at the professional level. But if the job or opportunity isn't right, got to do something.
Coaching at the professional level has got to be so much less work. Now, obviously, I don't know. I haven't coached at the high-level college or professional level. But being out on the recruiting trail all fucking year has got to be exhausting. NFL, you at least get a break. College football, there is no goddamn break. Being a head coach of a college football program is no joke.
Yeah. So who else would you want to see? Eric's got this question here as that head coach for Ohio State other than Vrabel.
I mean, I would love to see an elevation of Brian Hartline, but I don't think Brian Hartline wants that. I think he's very content staying as the wide receiver coach, and he's the best in the country. He's the best position coach in the entire country. I think he could have a lot more responsibilities. But I don't know that he wants them, but I would love to see that. That would be my number one choice. And in terms of other college coaches, I don't know that there's a name that immediately leaps off the board. Like, nobody in college this year is really doing anything that, I mean, Boise State, but I don't know if you're going to I don't have a name. I don't have one other than Brian Hartline right now. Maybe after a little bit of time, I can come up with some names, but give me Frames, give me Hartline after that. Bobby Carpenter? Give me fucking Bobby Carpenter leading the Buckeyes out of the tunnel one more time. I'd take that.
Hey, and for what it's worth, Hartline, mad respect to Hartline. I don't know that I see him as a head coach at this point in that big of a program. Personally, I love him. I love what he's done there. Though, I mean, play devil's advocate here. You guys are getting some of the best wide receiver recruits coming there to Ohio State because you guys have just been churning out talent. So that's going to feed more talent in there. But it's not a hard job to put out really good wide receivers when you have really good wide receivers coming. Not to denigrate him at all, because obviously he is, boosting these kids, but it could be worse if he was getting, 1-star recruits at wide receiver and making them top 5 draft picks consistently. Then we got a different conversation. But either way, we can jump off from college football. We can get into the NFL before we actually start our real games this week here in just under 2 hours. We got to get to these games to make sure people can get their bets in, get our thoughts on these games.
Absolutely. But even before we do that, I want to thank everybody who is popped in here right now. We got quite a few of you. Thank you very much. Anytime you spend time with us, we are forever grateful. If you wouldn't mind, please bounce on over to our YouTube, like, share, and subscribe there. We are working to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark. It would be incredibly appreciative if we could get some more subscribers from you guys. So no matter where you're watching, if you're on Twitter, which is where we get a lot of you guys, please head over to the YouTube and subscribe there. But with that, Evo, we got a bunch of games, full slate of games this week, if you include all 4 from last week. So let's start clipping some of these off, brother.
All righty. So looking at our Thursday games that we had on Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Hope that you ate well, had a good time, no family feuds or anything like that. But we'll start off with the Lions game. Actually, a really good game to watch. It was a lot closer, divisional game, kind of like I had brought up. These divisional games stay close. The Bears look a lot different with their new offensive coordinator, now their interim head coach, because Matt Eberflus rightfully was fired the day after this game. It was extremely embarrassing. I'm sure everyone is aware of how that final 33 some odd seconds went for that team. Look, there's a lot of people that the finger can be pointed at for blame here. Caleb could have called the timeout. He should have recognized that on the field as well, what was going on. He could have, and for as egotistical and everything as I think he kind of is, I would have been comfortable with him calling a play. If he wasn't getting the play in to him quick enough, he could have said, okay, at 20 seconds, I'm calling a play. We're getting up to the line and I'm running something quick. And you still could have had time to execute a field goal attempt or something. There's so many different things that could have happened there other than what happened, which was just the biggest failure I've seen this year from coaching, like to allow 33 seconds to run off with a timeout in your pocket. My favorite meme that I've seen from this is the shot of the field afterwards. No one there, and it says, legend says Matt Eberflus is still sitting with the one timeout in his pocket on the sideline waiting to call it. Like, you had a chance to knock off the best team in football with a touchdown, but you had a chance to tie the game. Now, don't get me wrong. Look, things were going against the Bears in this situation. Their kicker on distance kicks has an extremely low trajectory, and that's why he keeps on consistently getting blocked. But you got to give him a shot at least. And to have it be third down, you know that you're going to at least attempt to kick, get a little bit more yardage. You don't have to call anything crazy, especially not the play that they ended up running, which was a deep shot. because they had to, because time was expiring. You know, it was just the biggest coaching malpractice that I've seen this year and that I've seen in a while. There was no way that Eberflus was surviving.
It's the worst clock management I think I've ever seen at a professional level. I cannot think of now. Obviously, there's some recency bias because it's fresh in our minds. We know it's right there. But I went back. And I was like, where other times have there been such a mismanagement of the clock? And you have to go to some college games where you got freshmen playing quarterback. But this was terrible. Who was the adult in this situation? It wasn't Caleb. It damn sure wasn't Eberflus. And then to come out and say afterward that, no, we did it exactly how we wanted. My dude, if that's what you wanted, you should absolutely be fired expeditiously. Like, I'm pulling out all my Stephen A. Smith words today to describe how bad this was for Eberflus and the Bears team. It was atrocious. Caleb failed his teammates as well. You got to do something. Force your coach's hand. You know he's getting fired anyways. The organization's going to have your back.
Yeah, and that's part of it, is that you have to have some accountability. If there was any chance that he was going to survive, which I don't think it would have made a difference, but it's such a bad look for him to say, I like what we did there. Again, once it's under 12 seconds, you're going to call a timeout. You don't have an option. To me, I think we handled it the right way. I do believe you re-rack the play, get it inbounds, and call a timeout. That's why we held it, and it didn't work out the way we wanted it to.
That's wrong. It's objectively fucking wrong.
We saw better clock management in a failure in that Raiders-Chiefs game from Aiden O'Connell, arguably a worse quarterback than Caleb, and just not as terrible of a coaching situation, but still not a good team. And you know, we'll get into that game here shortly. But like there's nothing about his statement that makes sense, because if you were going to execute it the way that you're talking about, you would have, and you didn't at all. Either way, Eberflus, like I said last week, I didn't know if he was going to survive into this week. And after the way that game ended, obviously there's no way that you can keep him. Look, there's no way the players are going to play for this guy anymore. It wasn't a matter of like, oh, this is just a bad coach and we're going to move on from him one way or another at the end of the year. There's no way that Ryan Poles, that GM, with the squad that he has out there, is going to allow Eberflus to coach another game with that team, because the players would not be playing for him anymore, because this guy's a buffoon. He sat on the sideline with classic Mike McCarthy face, just dumb moon face look, and like no emotion, no anger, nothing.
He didn't know what was going on.
I honestly, it looked and felt like he was actually confused.
He didn't
like, wait a second. Don't we have another play? Isn't there? It looked like he thought there was another quarter or something like that. Or like they were already tied and going to overtime, being like, why is everyone upset? What's going on? It was egregious to say the least. But look, outside of the Eberflus firing here, Lions get another win. They're 11-1. But I think this goes to show that divisional games truly do matter.
Yep.
The Bears team is much better than their record shows, and that they've been held back by a bad coach, and that this Lions team is gettable. Yeah. They can be got. Okay, Baker got them earlier in the year. They went the distance with the Vikings, and now they go to nearly overtime, nearly losing the game versus the Bears here. They are getting a lot of injuries on that defense. Their defensive line is getting beat up. They lost Malcolm Rodriguez to an ACL tear. The defense is getting beat up, which was already the weakest part of this team. They're being a little bit less aggressive on offense. We talked about this. You and I both think that they're the best team in football. And I don't want Detroit fans to think that just because I'm an NFC North Vikings fan that I'm trying to denigrate them here. But the truth of the matter is that when you play this aggressive brand of football like they do in Detroit, you are going to incur injuries. You're going to incur things like this. And having that sort of depth, which they do have, is very pivotal. But at some point in time, the dam is going to break. And
This team
Detroit's
is trying to
getting
lock up a spot, though, man. As soon as they lock up their spot, they're resting. I guarantee it. Dan Campbell's a smart man.
well, this is the problem though. Like they're going to probably lock up that NFC North, but it's also tough to say that that's going to happen when you look at the standings. Minnesota is nipping at their heels at 9-2. The Packers get a win. They're 9-3. You have teams right behind you where you're going to be vying for that NFC North. They want the 1 seed, but you also have teams like the
They're
Eagles who are just on a tear.
Everybody else, though, man. Like they're only 3 weeks away from locking this thing up with the first seed, with the number 1 overall seed. They're going to get their guys. They're going to get them quick, and then everybody's sitting. They'll maybe play in the last week for a couple series. That Dan Campbell is running a playbook to be ready to win a Super Bowl. He does not care about this record, I don't think. I think he is going to have his guys attack aggressive every second they're on the field, and then when they're not on the field, they'll have their chance to rest. But he's going to have that mentality like when you're out there, we're fucking dogs and we're hanging 50 on everybody.
Yes, but is he ever going to peter that back? We haven't seen it yet.
As soon as they lock up a spot, I think. I don't think that his pride of being the best team in football will get in his way. There's a lot of guys that have pride, but damn near everybody in the fucking National Football League does.
I don't know if it's
a coach that is going to let his pride take over him, and it's not going to be Dan Campbell.
I don't know if it's pride, though. I think that is just the brand of football, and that's the type of football team that he wants is all gas, no break. That's how he's been his entire time there. He doesn't sit players like that. So, and there's that argument to be made of like, hey, especially for 1 seeds, teams that are going to get a bye, do you want to sit your players and give them 2 weeks of rest because you kind of come off rusty sometimes after having a bye week for the first week of playoffs? Dan Campbell seems like that type of guy where it's like, hey, I don't care if we've got things locked up. It's not an ego thing. It's
them, but the snap count goes way down. Guys are playing a few series. You're resting dudes. The play counts are going to go way, 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 way down, I think, man.
You would hope so. We haven't seen it with Dan Campbell yet because they haven't been in that situation, to be honest. But the brand of football that he plays is we're just going to be hard-nosed all the time, 100% all gas, no break. So it'll be interesting to see. The smart move, of course, is sit, rest your players. You need to because your team is getting beat up right now with injuries, especially on that defensive side of the ball. But we'll see. Look, they are only a couple weeks away from locking that 1 seed up. But they showed this week that they are the margins are closing a little bit. In how good this team is versus the rest of the league, and injuries are playing a big factor in that. It'll be something to watch going forward. Next, we have the Giants and Cowboys. Giants keep it relatively close in a divisional game, 20-27. Cowboys get the win here. Look, the Giants under Drew Lock, they just don't look good. This was a kind of garbage game to watch, in my opinion, which we expected, because both these teams are fighting for a whole lot of nothing at this point.
I don't know what the fuck Drew Lock was clamoring to get on the field for, because he didn't play good at all.
He wanted to play professional football.
I mean, yeah, I understand he wanted to play professional football. He was fucking sacked 6 times. Couldn't move the ball efficiently at all. Like, at all. You're asking, or you're complaining essentially, without complaining, that you've been skipped over and Tommy plays above you, and then you come out and you play this type of game. Of course, that's why fucking Tommy played above you. The Cowboys aren't good. The Giants aren't good. This game stunk. I was taking a nap halfway through this bitch because that trip plan was hit. Because I eat turkey because I'm not a communist like Evo who eats ham.
Like a communist. Okay. The one thing from this is Cowboys fans are back. They think that they got a chance. Micah Parsons saying, don't sleep on us. Look, if you went out versus the Bengals, the Panthers, the Bucks, the Eagles, and the Commanders, props to you. That takes you to, I believe, a 9-7 record, and you still have to hope for a lot of other stuff to happen for you to get backdoored into the playoffs. But do you think that you're going to go anywhere in the playoffs with Cooper Rush? I don't know. As a Cowboys fan at this point, I don't know that I would want them to backdoor their way into the playoffs. I'm thinking about draft picks at this point because let's be real, you don't have a running back. But like as good as the running back has played, you don't really have a true blue NFL starting caliber running back. You don't have your quarterback. You've got Brandon Cooks is back, but like it's not that big of a bad defense. This isn't a team that's built to go anywhere in the playoffs this year. Let's reset and look towards 2025. That's what I would be hoping for if I was a Cowboys fan at this point. Um, but I guess theoretically, if you win out, you have a chance of backdooring your way in. I don't see it happening, especially versus the teams that they have coming up.
Yeah, me either.
All right. Next, we have the Dolphins and Packers. Packers get the win here 30-17. Dolphins don't play good in that sort of a cold environment. And it ended up being kind of exactly what we expected here, a bigger Packers win in Lambeau. Jordan Love, very efficient game, 21-28, 274 yards. The running game for the Packers, 114 total yards and a touchdown. They were able to control that ground script. Miami wasn't able to do any of that whatsoever, 39 yards on the ground. And that's kind of what makes the difference in this sort of a game.
Yeah, man. The Dolphins just couldn't get enough points. They moved the ball really efficiently. They held the ball for a lot longer than the Packers did. They just could not convert on their opportunities. That's the story of this game. The offensive numbers, everything really kind of favors the Dolphins, except for maybe the running game. But it just did not work out. They could not get enough points on the board. And, you give up 30. It's hard to do anything. It's really, really hard to do anything.
And then our last game, the Black Friday game, the Chiefs get another win. They lock up that playoff berth again. They are 11-1 as well as are the Detroit Lions. 19-17. Aiden O'Connell comes out, has himself a really solid game. Statistically, 23 of 35, 340 yards and 2 touchdowns versus this vaunted Chiefs defense. And they are also able to get 116 yards on the ground. Again, Sincere McCormick being the big name on the running game for this Vegas team, I guess, should maybe become a household name.
All name NFL, baby.
Yep. Brock Bowers again puts up huge numbers, 10 receptions, 140 yards and a touchdown. The Vegas Raiders have something going for them, at least with this tight end. I'm not willing to say they have something going yet with the quarterback position. But it continues to push this narrative. The Chiefs are not as good as their record indicates. Unless you are, I don't want to say a Chiefs apologist and saying at the end of the day, all that matters is your record, which is true. And you find ways to win games. Championship teams can find ways to win games on their down days. The problem is that like 90% of the season has been down games. They just don't look dominant. And that sort of eye test really brings into question how far are they going to be able to go in the playoffs when they're going up against heavy hitters every single game. But the main thing from this game was that final play.
Yeah, they should have lost this game. So it's not like they squeaked one out here. They rightfully should have lost this game. Again, this is the second game that they rightfully should have lost, but did not lose. There is no fucking way that they changed. I don't understand why the call changed from false start to illegal shift. I understand what happened. Not O'Connell's fault. Not JPJ's fault either. That's on the guard. You don't give the fucking signal unless the ball's ready to be snapped. Don't fucking tap him unless it's ready to be snapped. If you're rushing, nobody cares. The quarterback has to be rushing. Not you, motherfucker. So that's a problem on the right guard. Huge problem on the right guard. But there were several guys moving to get to the line. Moving for like it's not a legal shift. Dudes weren't even set. So that's a false start because nobody ever even got set. You can't. An illegal shift is being set and then shifting illegally. It doesn't make any fucking sense. They should have lost. The call was wrong, I think.
It's the chicken. It's the chicken or egg scenario in this one.
Yeah.
first off, not a good look for the NFL because, again, it seems like officiating takes a lean towards the Chiefs, and that's a common narrative. I don't know that if they can call an illegal shift or not without players being set. But that's part of it, is that if more than one player is moving when the ball is snapped, it's an illegal shift. But does that even come into the realm of possibility if players were not first set? And honestly, I don't know. I would have to assume that the officials know, but I'm not sure. I do not know the fine nitty-gritty of the rule book in this situation. I would have personally liked to have seen it be a false start
That's what it looks
because
like, right? Everybody saw it, and everybody thought it was a false start.
yeah. Because then at least we would have had the game. The game would have continued. Look, Daniel Carlson had not been good that day. He was 1 for 4, not good from distance. But I would have liked to have seen the Raiders get a chance. It would have been nice to see the Chiefs actually lose one because look, the Chiefs were not able to drive the ball on this Raiders defense, which is average at best. Like, they did not look good in this game going up against this Raiders team. And should they have won or lost, I'm not going to say one way or the other. Did they deserve to win? That's the tougher one. I don't know that they deserve to win this one just because of how bad they looked. But for what it's worth, it doesn't matter what the score is at the end of the day. A win is a win, a loss is a loss. They got the win in this one and locked themselves up going into the playoffs, looking for the three-peat. I would put my money on it not happening just with how bad that they've looked this year. But you never know. It's the Chiefs, it's Mahomes, and it's the refs, right?
You can always catch fire. This team can always do that, man. Like, that's the thing that sucks about the Chiefs, is that they always find a way. They found a way again. Sometimes they've been given ways, however you want to go about it. But you know what? Good start to the week for us. We both went 3-1 to start the week. The one game that I expected to get for sure did not happen. I thought the Lions would come out and dominate. We talked about that pedal to the metal. Didn't happen. And then Giants, you went with the Giants. They did not. Drew Lock didn't do his thing. So 3-1 to start. We got 12 more games, full slate, 16 games this week. We could both turn out a good week. That'd be fantastic. I need to go at least 2 games over 500 this week to get me back to 500 on the season. Evo, if you go fucking balls deep here, bro, you're right back at 500 as well. You got to go a good, I think, 5 or 7 games over 500. Let's make some fucking money today. You ready?
Yeah, look, and it doesn't take much for me to go balls deep. So we're only talking a matter of inches here. But we can start off this week by looking at the Chargers versus the Falcons. Right now, the
Can I cut
Falcons,
you off, brother?
huh?
Can I cut you off one more time? Before we do that, I know. Last episode, we had some technical difficulties. I want to let you guys all know that fucking call line is back up. It is working. 216-800-7223. You can call in. We checked it. I double checked it. So that shit does work. Last time was bad. I'm out there talking to Dave. Me and Dave having a conversation.
It's mostly just Dave having a conversation. You just being like,
Yep. Listen, I was trying to be receptive of our caller, but call line is open. Evo, let's gamble.
All righty. So first game up, Chargers going into Atlanta. Chargers are favored -1.5 points at -106 odds. You can get that Falcons team with the points for -114 odds. Chargers ended up losing J.K. Dobbins, going on IR here for a little while, but you do have Gus Edwards and my guy Kamani Vidal out there to help boost that run game a little bit. I expect that we're going to see a little bit more passing. We've seen the passing game increase from this Chargers team. Quentin Johnson showing why he still is a failed first-round pick in their last game. But Chargers, I expect to see a little bit more passing from them versus this Falcons team, which the offense has the capability to be really good, but that defense is still absolutely garbage, especially in the pass rush. Where do you see this game going, Mike?
So the loss of J.K. Dobbins is huge. It sucks for this Chargers team, but I still think that they are a better team than this Falcons team. The Falcons team still does not generate any pressure on the defensive side of the ball. You give Herbert all day to stand back there and throw. I don't care what defense you're running. He is good enough to pick you apart. I think Gus Edwards is a good enough back to give you good moments, good spots. And now that he's your lead back today, I think he will have a pretty decent day because this is still a John Harbaugh-led offense. They're going to run the fucking ball. I'm taking the Chargers. I'm dropping 1.5 points. And I also have, as part of my Lineman Lounge parlay for later, Gus Edwards is a part of that. But for right now, I'm just going Chargers, dropping 1.5.
Yeah, and look, this is a game that does have potential big playoff implications here. The Atlanta Falcons are right now leading the NFC South at 6-5, but they have the Buccaneers at 5-6 right behind them. This NFC South potentially the worst division in football, and a very close one because that Bucs team could absolutely go on a little bit of a tear here and jump right ahead of them. For what it's worth, the Saints, as bad as they've been, they're 4-7. They're not that far behind either. And the teams here in the NFC South, if those top two start to drop a few games, the Saints could be right back in the mix, which is awkward. It's the same thing that happened over the past couple seasons in the NFC South. No one has really stormed ahead here. And then for the Chargers, they're in second place behind that Kansas City Chiefs team. They're not going to be able to get into first place in their division, but they are fighting for one of those wild card spots. They're 7-4. The Broncos are 7-5 right behind them. You have a bunch of other teams that are, Pittsburgh and Baltimore are fighting it out in the AFC North. And the Dolphins, I guess, could be trying to make a run to get one of those wild card spots. The Chargers need to win this game just as much as the Falcons do. Hungry dog usually gets the bone, right? Well, both these are hungry dogs. They're going to be fighting. I like this Chargers team better. I like the Harbaugh-led team better. And this Falcons team, while they can't put up a lot of points, this Chargers defense has shown consistently outside of that Ravens game to be very good at holding teams to low scores. So I'm going to drop the points, drop the 1.5 here for the Chargers as well in this game.
All right, here we go.
All right. Next up, we have the Colts going into New England. Colts are favored -2.5 points, -110 odds, or you can get 110 odds for giving the points to this Patriots team. Drake May back out there. And the Colts are going to be rolling out Anthony Richardson as their quarterback yet again. Where are you going in this one, Mike?
So I'm going to say a lot of things. They're going to sound like I'm not betting the way I am. Josh Downs is out. Anthony Richardson starting again. The Patriots are coming off of a pretty decent competitive game. I'm taking the Colts -2.5. I really think that this has the potential because of the elements. It's going to be a disgusting kind of a ground game. So give me the team with the better back in Jonathan Taylor, who I think is going to have a really nice day, combined with the running abilities of a Anthony Richardson. I like that combination more than I like Ramondre and I like Drake May, even though that is not a bad combo of guys that can run the ball as well. I'm going to drop 2.5 for the Colts.
So you brought up the weather there. Do you know off the top of your hand what weather is actually looking like?
I believe it's supposed to be windy as fuck, the last I heard. I don't think it's too much precipitation, but I believe it's windier than all fuck there.
Right now I'm seeing 4 mile per hour, 8 mile per hour wind gusts.
Well, then I'm totally fucking wrong.
Because obviously, look,
very locked in.
We are in this time of year where weather is going to be a big factor in these games. Look, I don't think that this Colts team is very good. You're looking at that they just they lost Will Fries, offensive guard, one of their better guards. That's going to affect the run game a little bit. Weather obviously could play a factor. Maybe it's going to get worse before things get better here, weather-wise. But this Patriots team is scrappy. I like what Drake May can do. I mean, Colts are a better team. I'm not going to lie there. But it's not a fun game for me to pick because I don't really feel strong one way or the other about either of these teams. Give me the Patriots plus the 2.5 points. Look, if it does come down to a run game, for the reasons that you just talked about. Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson are good at running the ball. So is Drake May, and Ramondre Stevenson has shown to be a pretty solid runner before as well. And they've got Antonio Gibson as well, who can do some things. Give me the 2.5 points for the Patriots. I don't feel great about this pick, but when I'm not sure about either of the teams, I'll take the points. So I'll go with the Patriots in this one.
Wind gusts 15 to 20 is what I am seeing here on this NFL weather.
Okay, sounds good. Next up, we have the Houston Texans going into Jacksonville Jaguars, getting 3.5 points at minus 122 odds, or you can take the points away from the Texans for plus 100 odds right now. Jacksonville expecting to have Trevor Lawrence start despite that AC joint still not being completely healthy. Houston Texans going out there with Nico Collins again, looking good. We'll see if Joe Mixon can have a bit of a rebound game after not doing so well. And Tank Dell obviously still out there for that Houston Texans team. Mike, how are you feeling about this game between the Texans and Jags?
I would feel much better if the Texans were playing better football, but they have not been playing great football, man. The Jags obviously are not good. Trevor Lawrence is going to be back this game, sounds like, but Trevor Lawrence wasn't playing great either before. I wish that this wasn't 3 and a hook. I'm because it's a tough bet at 3 and a hook, but I still have to take the Texans. I have to drop the points for the Texans. They're a better team. The Jags have played some people close. At some point, I expect this Texans team to actually be really good again, to put it all together. CJ Stroud has had a slumped sophomore season, but they're a drastically better team in my eyes. So I'm going to drop the points. Texans minus 2.5 or minus 3.5.
3.5, yeah. Look, that's the thing is like we were both high on the Texans going into the year. They have just been playing kind of mediocre football, and they're able to still be, I believe, leading their division despite kind of playing that mediocre football. But this is a divisional game, man, and I'm going to continue going with divisional games. The games stay a lot closer. I'm going to give the points to the Jaguars. I think the Texans are a better team. I think the Texans should win this game. However, the Jags and Texans, they used to be fighting for the worst team in the NFL, and they still had games that were relatively close and competitive between the two of them. Jags have gotten a lot of those games on the Texans. You might see a little bit of boost from Trevor Lawrence coming back because when you're playing Mac Jones, nothing looks great out there. I don't like this Jags team. I think that they probably will and should lose this game, but they're playing a divisional game. So I'm going to take the 3.5 points for the Jags in this one.
All right, Jags plus 3.5.
All right. Next up, Seattle going into New York versus the Jets. Jets are favored minus 1.5 points, minus 105 odds, or you can give the points to the Seahawks for minus 115 odds. Look, the Jets, they've apparently had some conversations about Rodgers sitting. That's not happening. Seattle still fighting for a spot in their division right now. They are in the lead, 6-5 in the NFC West, with the Cardinals also being 6-5. But the Seahawks have the tiebreaker right now. Rams and 49ers not far behind at 5-6. Seattle is definitely still playing for something in this game. The Jets are playing for a whole lot of nothing at this point. They kind of need to implode everything there, blow it up, and start over. This one for me, I'm not going to say your line, but I feel pretty confident Seattle getting the points here. Give Seattle the 1.5 at minus 115 odds. I think that the Seahawks are as good, possibly a better team than the Jets. The Seahawks are just kind of flaky. They need to get back to running the football. They have not been running the football well and controlling the ground game. The Seahawks need to do that, whereas the Jets, I don't know if they have a lot that they're playing for anymore. Players on that team feel kind of dejected to me because, hey, we tried it. We lost. Now we don't know what the future of this team is going to be. Rodgers probably not going to be here next year. They're probably in more of a holding pattern than anything. So I'm going to take the points for the Seahawks in this one. I think the Seahawks are a better team at this point. I'll take the points that they're going to give them.
All right. Listen, man, today's show, so we're betting in the blizzard, baby. So there's a weather theme going on for a lot of my picks. Wind again up there in the New York area, 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts potential. So it comes down to running games again. You brought it up. Seattle doesn't run the ball well. Hasn't run the ball well here recently. Anyways, I like the two-headed combination of the Jets a little bit better as long as they can get them going. They have struggled at times to do that. However, close game. All I need is a field goal to win this thing. I'm going to take the Jets minus the 1.5 because I like their backfield a little better, a little more dynamic. In a game where I don't know if they're going to throw the ball down the field too much. Guys, I like catching the ball out of the backfield. Breece Hall more so than I like a Kenneth Walker out there in Seattle. So,
and Charbonnet.
Charbonnet's not bad, but I mean, he's Braylon Allen as well. I mean, you got two of those kinds of guys in New York, so I'm going with the Jets minus 1.5.
Sure thing. All right, next up, Steelers going into Cincinnati. Right now, Cincinnati's favored -3 at -110 odds. Pittsburgh giving the 3 points for -110 odds as well. What's the weather like for this game, weatherman Mike?
Oh, hold on, let me pull it up. I gotta go back.
Because it is Ohio. We just saw what the weather was like in your neck of the woods out in Ohio.
I don't know what it's like down there in Cincinnati yet. Hold on.
I don't know if they're getting that lake effect snow. But obviously it's going to be a cold game, one that could kind of be wintry conditions.
I need Bengals weather, not Cincinnati weather.
And look, this is the thing is I think the Steelers, and you would probably agree, the Steelers are a better team right now. They are probably set up better for playing in that weather with Justin Fields being able to come in at quarterback, Najee Harris being more of a true blue runner of the ball. But that Bengals offense can be really scary with Jamar Chase and their ability to pass. That's why I'm
8 to 10 mile an hour winds, not very gusty. So I don't think you'll see too many weather implications in today's game.
All righty. Either way, Bengals are dropping the points here. Steelers are getting the points in Cincinnati. The Bengals are not out of the playoff competition.
They're not.
They're 4-7. They're about out of the playoff competition. They're about as out as the Cowboys are. Whereas the Steelers are leading the AFC North right now with Baltimore nipping at their heels. I think that Tomlin's going to have this team ready to go. I like the Steelers as a better team. Yeah, the Bengals offense can put up a lot of points real quick with their passing attack. But the Steelers, they're not a slouch on offense. They got a good defense. They're not playing in a blizzardy condition like they did versus your Cleveland Browns. I'm going to give the points to the Steelers here. Steelers +3. I like them to be able to win this game, or at least keep it close enough where they can be within a field goal.
So I'm thinking that we're going to end up seeing the second push of the week. I'm going the other way. I like the Bengals offense a lot. I think that they will be able to put up a lot of points. This Steelers offense is better with Russell Wilson for sure, but will they be able to put up as many points? I don't know. This is kind of best on best here. Steelers defense, Bengals offense, and a decent Steelers offense against a really kind of banged up Bengals team. But this Bengals team has been right there. They're right on the cusp of winning one of these games against a team they probably shouldn't beat. And I think they get one this week. I'm going to take the Bengals minus the 3 points. Close divisional game. Whether we just said not going to be too much of a factor.
All righty. Well, hey, a lot of parity in our picks this week so far, especially in this early matchup. Next up, got the Tennessee Titans going into Washington facing the Commanders. Commanders are dropping 6.5 points versus that Titans team. You can get them +6.5 for -122 odds, or that's +100 odds to drop the points for the Commanders. Mike, what are your thoughts on this one?
Oh, so for me, man, I think that the Titans did a really cool thing last week and battled back, and it was awesome. And I think the Commanders fell flat on their fucking face. And I think that there's probably a reversal of course coming this week. The Commanders are a better team. The Titans are not great. I think that the Commanders are going to be able to control what they want to do. Playing at home, the weather everywhere on the East Coast is kind of shitty right now. It's cold as fuck. I want to see a huge day out of Brian Robinson. I'm riding the Commanders, man. I love this team. I like the way they're playing football. Cool story last week for Titans fans. I don't expect that to continue.
Well, the thing with the Commanders is they've lost 3 straight here. Jaden Daniels is kind of coming back down to earth a little bit. And remember, he's a quarterback that played a lot out of a dome there at LSU. He might not be, and before that, Arizona State, he's a warm weather guy. Like, we don't know if he's going to be able to perform as well as he did earlier in the year in these cold weather situations, which I think is a factor that we definitely need to look at and bring up. He's playing on that Commanders field, which is known for taking people's legs, which is scary when he's already slight of frame. Like the Titans, they can be a scrappy team. They had a nice win last week, and the Commanders lost a game that they absolutely should have won indoor. Or was it indoors? No, it was outdoors, but versus that Cowboys team, that's not very good. 6.5. Like, I think the Commanders should win this a little bit more than I want to bet on this one. I'm going to take the Titans plus the 6.5 here. We're seeing a lot better production out of that Titans running game. Tony Pollard is doing really well running the ball right now. And the Commanders are actually one of the worst run defenses in the league. I think on average, they allow over 120 yards per game to opposing teams on the ground. So I expect a big run day from that Titans team. I'll take the Titans plus 6.5 points.
All right, Titans plus 6.5. Man, we picked fucking hardly any that went the same way after the Chargers. No, after the Chargers, we went all different.
Nope. And we'll see what we do here in this one if we go different or not. We got the Cardinals going into Minnesota versus my Vikings. Cardinals plus 3.5 points for minus 118 odds, or you can drop the 3.5 for my Vikings at minus 104 odds. So look, my Vikings, Cam Robinson, I believe, is going to play our new left tackle after Darisaw went down. But Cam Robinson left last week's game with an injury, a foot injury, the same injury that he kind of been nursing when he was still with Jacksonville. And we lose Ivan Pace onto IR, decent young linebacker for us, but we've had some pretty good linebacker depth, and we've been rotating a lot of linebackers back there. So we just lose a little bit of the speed and aggressiveness from Ivan Pace, but it's not a huge loss for the defense. The Cardinals, they put up a stinker last week. Maybe the Call of Duty, I don't know what narrative we want to run with the Call of Duty stuff here with Kyler. Maybe, I don't think there was a double XP weekend or anything. Either way, look, this Cardinals team, they're a good team, but not a great team by any means. They feel like that classic 8-9, 9-8, middle average NFL team. You don't know what you're going to get each week. Some weeks they're going to be very competitive. Some weeks they're going to be competitive, but not anything special. And then you're going to have stinkers like you had last week. Kyler does scare me a little bit versus my Vikings team. If you get Kyler out of the pocket, we've seen how he's able to be extremely productive. The Vikings have a good pass rush, which is known for flushing quarterbacks out of the pocket. That kind of plays into what Kyler does well here. So I think Kyler can have a good day versus this Vikings team. James Conner on my fantasy football team, I sat him because the Vikings have just been really, really good against the run this year. Top 5 run defense, I believe. So I expect my Vikings to win this game, but I think that the Cardinals can play some competitive ball if they decide to play this week and have a little bit of a bounce back from last week. I'm going to take the Cardinals plus the 3.5 points here, but I expect my Vikings to win, but I'm going to take the Cardinals plus the points just because the Vikings have been playing teams a lot closer. They have a good point differential, and the Vikings have looked good and found ways to win these games, but they've allowed lesser teams to kind of stay close to them. They allowed the Bears to get into overtime with us a week prior, which I don't like to see. We need to clean those things up. Vikings win, Cardinals plus the points.
My brother, I'm the same way. I think you guys win, but you're back to playing that fucking brand of Vikings football where you don't win the way you're supposed to, where you're squeaking games out. This comes down to a field goal at the end of the game by Mr. 3-name. What the fuck's your new kicker's name this week?
John Parker Romo.
That's it, John Parker Romo.
He likes to go by Parker Romo, but it is JPR.
Okay, so JPR is going to end up kicking a game-winning field goal at the end of this thing. You guys win. Cardinals cover. We talked about this before the show started. Matchups here. The Kyler Murray matchup against your pass rush is the matchup of the entire day, I think. That will dictate how everything goes. If you guys actually get home and disrupt him, you guys will be fine. However, if you let him flush, if he breaks the pocket, Kyler is probably outside of Lamar Jackson, the best in the NFL outside of the pocket. So it could be a very, very interesting day.
The thing with Kyler, I think Kyler's had only 3 sacks this year. He's been sacked very little. He's a tiny dude. He's able to be mobile and get lost behind that offensive line, right? And like I said, my Vikings team is good at flushing quarterbacks. The pass rusher's there, and they're good at flushing them out of the pocket, which typically quarterback on the move isn't a good thing for the quarterback, but it does play into Kyler's strengths, right? My hope here would be that Brian Flores is a smart dude. He recognizes this, that we will play a little bit more of a contained pass rush, and have a quarterback spy of some sort going on this one. But yeah, I feel good about my Vikings today. I think that we could actually blow the roof off on this one. But it's not been something that we've done recently. So I'm going to give the Cardinals the points in this one. I would love to be wrong on this though, and have it be a much better game for my Vikings team. Next up, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That was the last of our morning slate, I believe, right?
It is.
All right, so here it is. Evo and I agreed on one fucking game this morning. So we got Chargers minus 1.5. Outside of that, we went opposite. I went Colts, he went Patriots. I went Texans, he went Jags. I got the Jets, he took Seattle. I took the Bengals. He went with the Steelers. I took Commanders. He got the Titans. Oh, there at the end, we agreed again. Start and finish the morning slate agreeing. We both got the Cardinals plus 3.5. Interesting to see the way this week works out. I don't feel great about us both going over 500 now that we have disagreed on so many games.
Yeah, look, unless we just completely agree on the second half of the day, we're going to see some differences in our records here going forward.
There's going to be a little bit of parity after this week.
For sure. All right, next up, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Carolina Panthers. Panthers are getting 6.5 points at home, minus 110 odds. Bucks minus 6.5, minus 110 odds. Look, the Carolina Panthers, best story in football. They are an absolute meat grinder of a team. Everyone that comes in plays them. They're just having a tough battle versus this Panthers team who, this is obviously a joke.
Sell it. Spin it.
But the Panthers have been playing better recently. They've been playing teams a lot better than they should have. Looking at you Chiefs and several other teams. But the Buccaneers, like I said, hungry dog gets the bone here, right? Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in second right now in their division. They are definitely within striking range. If the Bucs get a win this week and the Falcons get a loss, the Bucs are absolutely right in it to win that division. 6.5 points versus this Panthers team, though. Like, the Panthers have been playing better. The one spot that they're not playing better, though, is defense. That defense is still pretty atrocious, and the Buccaneers are a good team. They can put up some points on offense. I'm going to drop the 6.5 points here for the Bucs. I like the Bucs playing away and their ability to try to fight for this division right now. Hungry dog gets the bone. Tampa Bay Buccaneers drop the points.
I'm dropping the points for the Bucs as well, man. I think that they're getting healthier. They're getting better. If this team wasn't destroyed in the middle part of the season with injuries, they're probably leading their division right now. I think they're probably the best team in that division. They need to go out there and prove that today against a Panthers team that has been streaking. They've been very, very good recently, but I don't think that is what the future is going to hold for the Panthers for very long. It's a nice little reprieve from getting your dick kicked in every week, but I don't think that's the norm. Bucks minus 6.5 should be what I think is going to be a little bit of a clunker game. This feels like a classic Panthers just don't show up.
Yeah, I can see this 27-3, 27-6 type of game here, potentially. Next up, LA Rams going into New Orleans. The Rams are favored minus 2.5 points and minus 122 odds, or you can give the points to the Saints for plus 100 odds. Rams, look, their offense has got those pieces back. They can be scary with Puka and Cooper and Kyron doing good things out there. The offensive line has gotten healthier. The defense is still extremely suspect, though, for that Rams team. Saints, you've got Kamara, you've got Derek Carr, and Taysom Hill, the most dynamic utility player in all of football here. But at the end of the day, for me, I just like this Rams team a lot better. They are still technically playing for playoff spots as well in that NFC West, which is extremely tight. We talked about this earlier. Seahawks and Cardinals, both 6-5, and then the Rams and 49ers, both 5-6. I'm not sure any of these teams are necessarily going to get a wild card spot, but the actual NFC West itself is up for grabs. And Sean McVay is going to coach his team to do good things, to try to give them a chance at the division. I'm taking the Rams minus the 2.5 points here. I like their offensive weapons a lot better than I like the Saints have. And so I think that they can put up some points here.
I'm on the same train, brother. I'm on the Rams minus 2.5. Their defense is still suspect. However, they're going up against the Saints team that I also think is kind of suspect. They've had a nice run. Taysom Hill's the most dynamic player in football. Well, I don't fuck Taysom Hill, first of all.
Because of the embarrassment.
A little salty from a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I just don't know that they're a better team. Sure, we saw them be really special at the beginning of the year. Massive lull in the middle. Fire head coach. Playing better now. Are they really this better team? I don't think so. I think the Rams are a better team. I think they're a more well-coached team. Even though the Saints' new head coach has not had a long tenure to prove how good this team is well-coached. I'm going Rams, though, man. I can't get off the Saints train where they kind of stink after they hyped everybody up, especially their fans early in the year, going back-to-back, was it 50 burgers? And then fucking just shit the bed. So for the Saints fans everywhere that have been let down, I'm also going with the Rams.
All righty. And look, we're going to move on to our last game of the afternoon slate here. But look, thank you for everybody that's tuning in right now. Got a lot of people watching. We appreciate you and your support watching us and our picks here. If you guys want to talk about this next game, because this is a pretty good looking game here for our afternoon slate, call line is open. Comment. We will talk about your comment if it's something off the wall. Please hit us up. Let us know what you think about this next game. Philadelphia Eagles going into Baltimore. Eagles have been on a tear. Baltimore, they have been a little up and down, had a few losses here and there. But Baltimore is favored in this one at home, -3 for -108 odds on FanDuel. You can give the points to the Eagles for -112 odds. The Ravens have had the number of NFC teams. This is the thing here. Like, both these teams are good. I think that the Eagles, while they have won, 7 in a row, it hasn't been blowing the doors off versus like really good teams or anything like that. I keep pushing this narrative. The Eagles are good, but sooner or later, they're going to start to meet better competition. I think this is the week where it really starts to happen. Going into Baltimore versus a good Baltimore Ravens team that just beat Chargers, who are also a good defensive team. This should be a fun game to watch. I don't like the fact that there isn't some sort of a hook here to kind of lean me one way or the other, because we could be seeing a push. This could be a close game coming down to the wire. Over under 50.5 points right now, so it's expected to be a little bit higher scoring. I'm going with the Ravens in this one, man. I'm dropping the points here for the Ravens. I think that the Eagles are a good team, but I think that they have been going up against lesser competition and getting good wins. I don't trust Sirianni as a coach. Yes, Saquon has been fantastic. That defense for the Eagles has been fantastic. Quinyon Mitchell is looking like a defensive rookie of the year type of candidate with the way that he's playing cornerback right now. But the Ravens, look, they're playing in Baltimore. I expect we could get a little weather report here, but I expect it to be cold and frigid and nasty up there. That suits that Ravens run game really well. It suits the Eagles run game as well, except for the Ravens have a real good dual-headed monster there in Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry can keep hold of that ball. Saquon, really good runner. I expect him to have a big day today, but Jalen Hurts, while he can run the ball, is not as explosive or crazy as Lamar is. I like the Ravens in this one. I like them to drop the points. Where are you going with this one, Mike?
Well, weather in this game was going to be pretty marginal. It'll be cold. It'll fucking feel like 33 degrees out there. Wind gusts up to 15, but not expect to be sustained around 6 miles an hour. So you're not looking at too much of a terrible weather game. you said this comes down to coaching for you, right? That you're not a big Sirianni guy.
I'm not a Sirianni guy, and it's not just the coaching though. Look, the Ravens have the number of NFC teams. They play good against NFC teams, and Philadelphia Eagles level of competition recently. Don't get me wrong, good on you for getting those 7 or whatever wins in a row.
Right.
That's not necessarily a fluke, but they haven't been facing as strong competition as this Ravens team.
So sure, the Ravens have played some decent teams here. I just don't. I don't know how we're going to get off of the Eagles have been fucking murdering people. Now, granted, not necessarily the who's who of the world, but the Ravens have squeaked by people. They barely beat the Bengals. They lost to the Steelers. They get a win against the Chargers. I mean, sure, it's a decent game. I really like the way this Eagles team has been playing. The collapses by this Ravens defense makes me very worried for them, especially against an offense that can be incredibly dynamic in the Eagles, and weather's not going to be a huge factor. So I'm riding the Eagles here, man, and I'm taking the points. I dropped a lot of fucking points today, but I'm going to take points against the Ravens. The Ravens will give you points in the fourth quarter almost every week. So I'm going to take the extras, and I'm going to take the Eagles.
And look, if you want to feel comfortable with this, take Eagles total points in the game if you're betting. I do think that this Baltimore Ravens defense is very suspect. They're susceptible, especially in the pass game. They're not like they were even a year ago. So like if you're unsure which way to go in this game, you can go on bet the Eagles total team points. Look, with over under a 50.5, you could be probably getting, I don't know, without looking at it, total team points 22.5, 25, somewhere in there. I'd feel safe betting the over on 22.5 for that Eagles team. But look, afternoon game should be a really good one. Excited to watch that game. That takes us into our Sunday night game, though. San Francisco 49ers at the Buffalo Bills. Bills are favored -6.5 points, -105 odds. 49ers getting 6.5 points, -115 odds. We've seen the stuff, the media outlets talking about how this is going to be a snowy game. You're seeing the lake effect snow. They're already calling out on X for Buffalo fans to be willing to go out there and help shovel the field and get the stadium ready for this game. This should be an interesting one, a fun little matchup, except for the 49ers just haven't looked great lately. Brock Purdy, I believe, expected to still start this game after not playing last week. And the Buffalo Bills just kind of being one of the better teams in the AFC, dropping 6.5 here, over under a 44.5. Where are you going in this game, Mike?
Well, let's start with the weather report. Here's the weather report for you guys. It's going to fucking snow. It's going to snow a lot. It's already been snowing a lot. Because the same shit that's been going on in my house is going on in fucking Buffalo too. It's going to be a shit show of a weather game. It's going to snow like crazy the entire time from all the weather reports that I have seen. Bills Mafia will be throwing snowballs. There will probably be some Bildos out on the field. By the way, watch out for those. When those motherfuckers get frozen, I bet they hurt. So
I was going to say from experience.
I don't know from experience. I don't want to say too many things, but no, listen, the Bills are a better team. They're a drastically better team, and they have played a lot better throughout the year. I was riding really high with this 49ers team. I thought they were going to be really good. Christian McCaffrey being out for so long, this team found some other pieces, found some other weapons. As soon as he came back, they reverted back to this team where it was only reliant on Christian McCaffrey, and that has not fucking worked. Not at all. They have not used Mason nearly as much as they should have. Obviously, Brock Purdy being out last week was massively detrimental to this team. I just do not see this 49ers team coming up to Buffalo in these elements and taking it to the Bills. I just don't see it. So I'm going to take the Bills and I'm going to drop the points. This is Buffalo Bills football, man. The Bills Mafia is going to be busting through tables, slinging dildos and snowballs, and Josh Allen's going to be probably running in to the end zone because I don't expect to see a lot of throws in this game. What do you got?
Congrats to Josh Allen. in his nuptials. He got engaged to what was it?
Haley
Huh?
Steinfeld, right?
Yeah, which was Pitch Perfect girl or something, right?
So she was Pitch Perfect. She was also the one of the girls or the main girl from Hawkeye. I don't know if you ever watched the Marvel show Hawkeye.
Have not.
She's in that. She's a badass actress. Very talented singer as well. So congrats to Josh.
Yeah, congrats to him, riding high. And I think that he'll probably put a Superman cape on for this game like he does. Look, if there's a quarterback that you don't want to go against in these cold weather games that can run the ball, he's one of those guys for sure. He's been very good this year overall. 51% of the bets are on the Bills. So it's a very close game as far as the betting world is concerned, except for 76% of the money is on the Bills. And that's where I'm going as well. I'm dropping the points here for the Bills. I like him in this game. Hopefully, James Cook has himself a hell of a game. I need it to keep my playoff chances alive in fantasy football.
I got eliminated last week by like 2.3 points from our Eagle sideline reporter, Roberto Mussolini.
Mm-hmm.
Bastard.
All righty. And then Monday night, Cleveland Browns, your Brownies, going out to Denver, playing the Broncos. Browns are getting 5.5 points at minus 105 odds. You can drop the 5.5 for the Broncos at minus 115 odds. I'm going to let you go with this one, Mike. Tell me what you think.
Listen, very calm weather night. Browns just coming off of a Thursday night win, riding high off the adrenaline, beating the Steelers in the snow globe game. The city is fucking pumped. We're not technically out of this yet. We're going to run into a Broncos defense, though, that's really goddamn good. They're really, really, really good. They're much better than this Ravens defense that we faced that didn't make any mistakes. That made a shit ton of mistakes against us. The Broncos probably won't make those kinds of mistakes. They're not going to drop 4 picks. That's not going to happen against this Broncos defense. The Browns offense could maybe start to see a little bit more run game going. Nick Chubb in the end zone twice, but not necessarily efficient as a runner just yet. All things are telling me, don't take my Browns. But you know what? Jameis Winston got me hype after last week. I'm back on the fucking Homer bandwagon, baby. I'm taking the Browns. I'm taking plus 5.5 still.
Yep, 5.5.
Yeah, I will take the Browns plus the 5.5 points. Even if we do lose, I believe that we can keep this thing close. I'm excited to see our defense and what Myles Garrett can do against Bo Nix. That is going to be a fun matchup because we know Bo Nix is a guy that typically likes to get the ball out quick. Let's see if Myles can maybe make a play on the edge here. I don't know if they're going to give Myles enough time to get home, but a couple tip passes maybe cause an interception. I'm riding the Browns. I feel crazy doing it. I'm sure you're going the opposite way. Where are you at, brother?
Yeah, I am. I'm not a true blue believer, but I believe that he is putting up very efficient and effective football down the stretch here. Despite having a terrible start to the year, Sean Payton has gotten him right. The offense has become effective. The Bo Nix to Cortland Sutton connection has been real the past several weeks. They've been playing really well, and then you can't deny this Broncos defense. Now, your Browns did get that big win, close to 10 days ago or whatever it is when you played on Thursday night. It's been a long rest, a long time since then, and I think that the great equalizer in that game was the weather, and you're not going to have that in your favor in this one. I'm going to go with my girls Broncos team. I'm going to drop the points here. I think that we kind of know what your team is, like, and they're that great this year. Despite Jameis being, a fun player to watch, someone that you want to root for and everything, he still didn't look fantastic by any means in that game. No quarterback should look great in that sort of a game, but I like the way that this Broncos team has been producing. And then just to kind of ram this narrative home, you've got the hungry dog getting the bone, right? They're 7-5. Chargers are 7-4. They're vying for a wild card spot. They're absolutely in the mix in the AFC. Whereas your Browns, while you're not out of it, you're 3-8, man. You're kind of out of it.
If we run the table, we're not out of it. I need either one of the Broncos, Chargers, Steelers, or Ravens to go 1-4/1-5 respectively, depending on how many games they have left. So we're not done yet, but we're close.
You're the 11th team in the AFC right now at 3-8, and everyone else has at least one game on you. Bengals 4-7, Dolphins 5-7, Colts 5-7, and then you have a big jump to 7-5 with the Broncos, Texans, Chargers. It's about as uphill as it gets. We say that the Cowboys are not out of it, but pretty much out of it. Your Browns are pretty much out of it, brother.
I didn't hear no bell.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, we're done, but I mean, I'm going to continue to fucking root for them. I'm going to try to homer that. Listen, I still think we can cover 5.5. We might not win this game, but I think we could cover. We can keep it within 3 or 4.
It's possible. Over under in this game, 42.5.
21-17 is a very doable score in this game.
You think you can put up 17 points?
That's about how much we put up every week.
Against this defense, it could be really tough. It'd be really tough.
Listen, if we can kick a couple of field goals, maybe we'll get 16. 16-21 gets me there too. I'm good with that.
All righty, brother. But that is our week 13 of NFL games. We got just under 40 minutes till live NFL action kicks off. Brother, throw up those picks so that way the people can see and bet along with us if they want to.
Yeah, so us is going to be a hard thing to do. You can't necessarily bet along with us this week. You can bet with one of us because we have so many picks that are different.
Whoever has the most compelling arguments.
Yeah. So picking up from the afternoon, we both went Bucks -6.5, both on the Rams -2.5. I went Eagles +3. You went Ravens -3. We're both on the Bills -6.5. I took my Browns +5.5. You took the Broncos -5.5 for the afternoon. There is that full 16-game slate, 12 games today and between today and Monday. Off to a good start, but something's going to go bad for somebody here. We have too many games where we're different. I feel like we got to get everyone where we agree right, though. If we can make that happen, we can still have a decent little week.
Yep, for sure. But look, with that, we have our Lineman Lounge parlay, which we're going to go ahead and throw up here. If you want to actually put a little parlay together, bet along with us on these. Mike, go ahead and discuss your parlay for the week.
Yeah, man. So I talked about it earlier in that Chargers game. The loss of J.K. Dobbins is huge. Gus Edwards will be the lead back, and a John Harbaugh offense is going to get over fucking 45.5 yards rushing. There's no doubt in my goddamn mind. I took a similar approach going to the Brian Robinson pick here. Austin Eckler will be out of this game. The entire backfield is going to be reliant on Brian Robinson Jr. I think he goes over 58.5 rushing yards. And then we talked about kind of a crappy weather day, windy conditions up there in New England. I think they run the ball a lot. Jonathan Taylor goes over 81.5 rushing yards. I'll get you plus 595 there.
All righty. Big rushing yard parlay from Mike here today. For me, I'm going Lab McConkey over 50 receiving yards. He's the main receiving target out there in LA for the Chargers. And with J.K. Dobbins going down, I think they're going to have to lean into the running game a little bit more. Yes, Gus Edwards is going to be involved, but you could be seeing a mix of Gus and Kamani. So it could be a little bit more diverse backfield, whereas with the passing game, you've got one true receiver out there in Lab McConkey, and he's been looking really good recently. Nico Collins has only had one game this year where he's gone for less than 70 receiving yards. So I expect him to continue to be a big part of this offense, 70-plus receiving yards for Nico Collins. And then Saquon Barkley has been an absolute dog. I expect a big running day, but this is 125-plus total yards. That's rushing and receiving from Saquon. I could see him going over 100 rushing on his own, 125 both in the air and on the ground for Saquon. Seems like a decent bet to me going up against this Ravens defense, which has been a little bit porous. That gives you plus 416 odds for my parlay.
All right. So you went little passing. I went a little rushing. Nice mix. Here, late in the year, man, it becomes hard for me, anyways, to start betting on passing yards. When you start talking about weather games, and with the guys that we see in the NFL now, we don't have a ton of dudes that I think can really go out and play in the elements. Like the Jared Goffs of the world, they're great. I love those dudes. I don't necessarily love those dudes outside in fucking December, though. So we don't have a lot of those guys. I feel like the run game, and we've seen a big uptick in the run game this year, power running. I think maybe here at the end of the year, we're going to see a lot of teams trying to run the ball, but should be some fun games. We'll have another weather game tonight. See how much snow that it dumps during that Bills game. I love those games, though. I like those games when I'm watching them on TV. I don't necessarily want to be in the stands for those. I talked with a friend of the show, Roger in Cuyahoga. Man, he wants domes everywhere. Listen, I like domes. Domes are dope. But the Bills are not allowed to have a dome. If there's any team in the NFL that's not allowed to have a dome, it's the Bills. I'll be a bitch and I'll take the dome for me. But the Bills are not allowed to have one. It's part of the fabric of that fan base, I feel like. Bills Mafia shoveling snow and throwing each other through tables. That's what that shit's all about.
Look, I have never been to a professional football game that is outdoors, let alone one outdoors in the elements like snow. I want to go to one. I want to experience it. I want that sort of visceral football game to watch where you're feeding off of the energy of the fans around you and getting that sort of warmth along with maybe a couple brewskis. I get it from a traditional fan experience, more of passive fan experience. You're paying hundreds of dollars for tickets and stuff like that. You probably want a little bit more of a comfortable experience, but I think there's still something to be said about that cold, brutal weather football game, black and blue, just getting the blood going. I think that's fucking awesome. So excited to watch those games, especially that game this afternoon. And I'll have to find my way into a cold weather game at some point in time in my life.
Listen, I'm waiting for the day that the Vikings come up here to Cleveland because we're definitely going to have to figure something out. If it happens in the near future, I'm thinking show in the Muni lot. That's the only way to do it right.
That'd be pretty neat.
Assuming that we're still at the Muni lot. Hopefully it happens before there's a new stadium down in Brook Park. But
sure. There's still got to be tailgating though outside and whatnot, right?
There will be tailgating, I'm sure, in the Brook Park location, but there are very few places to tailgate like there is in the Muni lot. It's a different fucking place, bro, and you can see it. And like when you drive through Cleveland during Sunday when people are in the Muni lot, it is wild. The first time I drove through, I was like, "Holy fuck!" These people are crazy. They're out there at 4:00 waiting in line to get in the lot. So I love those people. Love the Browns fans. Hopefully we can do something again this week because I know your girl, big Broncos fan, but I fucking hate the Broncos. Outside of my division rivals, there is not a team in football I hate more than the fucking Broncos. Because everybody I knew growing up was a Broncos fan. Because I moved away from Ohio. I was living out in Wyoming. Everybody was a Broncos fan. They loved the Broncos. And then I always had to hear about the drive and all this other shit about them reminiscing about how they were good. And I never got to enjoy that. So fuck the Broncos. I hope we kick the shit out of them. I have a very deep disdain for them outside of my division rivals.
All righty. Well, brother, that's week 13. That's our show. What else do you got for us before we get out of here?
I got shit, brother. I think that will wrap it up for the day. We talked some college football to start. Wasn't a great day yesterday. It kind of stunk. But I'm excited for a ton of football today. My Browns don't play today, so I get to consume just shitloads of football, which I do love. What are you most excited for? Obviously, outside of your Vikings today. What game? Is it that
I mean,
weather game?
it's got to be the weather game tonight and the afternoon game between the Eagles and the Ravens. That's going to be a fun one to watch because those are two playoff teams going at it. When you're getting playoff football in late November, that's always fun to watch.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we're going to get out of here. Enjoy football. It's about 30 minutes away. I am Mike. That is Evo. This is the Lineman Lounge. If you want to interact with us, go anywhere below X, Facebook, TikTok, the call line, which is now closed, and then head on over to the YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe our YouTube page. It would mean a great deal to us. But with that, we are going to get out of here. Evo, give the people one last word.
If you're in one of those cold weather states, stay warm. And just know that I'll be enjoying the 75-degree weather out here in Arizona.
Yeah, I'm sure Arizona's very nice. Guys, I'm Mike. That's Evo. This is the Lineman Lounge. See ya.